When the kids saw what their mom was doing, they recorded everything on camera and showed it to me. When I saw it, it started on a Thursday. I was sitting out on the back porch of our house in the Charlotte suburbs, just past sunset. My shift had ended earlier that morning. I had a cold beer in one hand, my boots up on the rail, and the silence of the neighborhood pressing in around me. Peaceful, like the moments right before a storm. My phone buzzed on the table. No caller ID, no subject line, just an email with one sentence and an attachment. You deserve to know. She's cheating. Here's the proof. I don't remember tapping the screen. I just remember the video opening. It was grainy but clear enough. A small apartment, beige walls, cheap furniture. And there she was, Vanessa, my wife of 17 years, wrapped up in someone else's arms. Her laugh, her voice, the way she touched him like she used to touch me, it was unmistakable. The man? Ryan Cooper. My best friend. My brother-in-law. Married to my sister, Hannah. They didn't know they were being recorded. There were multiple angles, the sound was clean. Whoever had done it knew what they were doing. It wasn't edited. This was surveillance. I watched it once. That was enough. I sat there frozen, not moving, not blinking. My beer had gone warm. My heart. I couldn't even feel it. It was like someone had pressed pause on my life. When it ended, I didn't throw the phone, I just breathed. One long, slow breath. And then I picked up the phone and called the only person who needed to know right away. My sister. Hannah answered on the second ring. Luke? Everything okay? She heard it in my silence. You need to come over, I said, steady as I could. Now? Don't bring Ryan. A pause. What's going on? I just said it. He's sleeping with Vanessa. Another pause. 5 minutes later, she pulled into the driveway, marched up the steps, and dropped into the chair beside me. I didn't say a word, just handed her the tablet, opened to the video. She hit play, and the silence between us filled with the sound of our lives breaking. She made it about 30 seconds before she looked away. You sure that's her? She asked, her voice cracking. You're sure that's him? I countered. We didn't need to answer. She stood up, paced the length of the porch, then sat back down. Her face was pale, her hands shaking. You want to burn their lives down? She asked, voice low. I took another sip of my beer. No, I said. I want to take everything they thought we'd never notice and use it to make them lose everything. She stared at me, then nodded. Good, she said, because I'm not going down quietly either. We didn't talk much after that. There wasn't anything left to say. That night, I hugged Vanessa when she walked through the door. She smelled like her perfume. Same as always. Said she had to stay late at work. Same as always. I told her dinner was in the oven. She kissed me on the cheek and smiled. Except everything had changed. By morning, Hannah and I had a plan. Step 1. Act normal, no confrontations, no slip-ups. Step 2. Gather more evidence. Whoever sent that video, we needed more. And we needed to know why. Step 3. Lawyer up. We needed to get to a divorce attorney before they even suspected we knew. Step 4. Protect the money, lock down the accounts, secure our assets. Step 5. Tell the kids. Our way, in our words, before anyone else got to them. Before she left for work, I told Vanessa I loved her. She said she loved me too. She even smiled when she said it. It was the last time those words meant anything between us. Later that day, I got another email. 3 more videos, different days, different clothes, same people and same apartment. I watched them all, just once. Then I drove to the address mentioned in the video metadata. It was a mid-rise apartment complex about 20 minutes from our house. The leasing office was empty except for one woman behind the desk. I asked a few friendly questions, pretended I was looking to move in. Made a comment about a friend who said it was nice, but maybe a little overpriced. She let it slip that the unit in question was corporate leased, paid for by Crescent Harbor Insurance. That was where Vanessa and Ryan worked. They'd put their affair on the company's dime. That wasn't just betrayal. That was fraud. I walked out without saying another word. My hands were shaking. I didn't go home. I drove to the firehouse instead, sat in the empty rec room, stared at the walls, tried to remember how to breathe. I'd faced burning buildings, collapsed structures, car wrecks and smoke so thick it felt like drowning standing up, but nothing prepared me for this. The worst part wasn't what they did. It was how easy they made it look. At night, I didn't sleep. I went in the garage, looking at the photos on the wall. Birthdays, Christmases, our wedding. I found one from a camping trip a few years ago. Vanessa and Ryan smiling. Me and Hannah in the background. Our kids all piled into one tent. One big happy family. All of it a lie. I picked up my phone. "Hannah," I said, "we're calling the lawyer tomorrow." "Good," she replied. I already made the appointment. I didn't smile. I didn't feel relief. Just stillness. Like the moments after a fire's been put out, when all you can do is wait for the smoke to clear. They say fire destroys everything it touches. After meeting with Rachel Lively, easily the sharpest divorce attorney in Charlotte, I'd walk out of her office with strategy. Rachel had looked over the prenuptial agreement Vanessa and I signed before our wedding. Her father, an old money control freak from Raleigh, had insisted on it. He never trusted me. Thought I'd marry his daughter for her family's wealth. Funny how wrong he was about me, and how right he should have been about her. If infidelity could be proven, and it absolutely could, Vanessa would walk away with 20% of our marital assets. No alimony, no house, no claim to the land my grandfather left me. And if things went the way I intended, she'd have no custody of the kids either. But first, she had to believe I was still in the dark. So I played the part, kissed her on the cheek when she got home, asked her how work was, pretended to fall asleep beside her while she scrolled through her phone, texting God knows who. And when she said, "I love you," before rolling over for the night, I said it back. I was going to lie to her, just long enough to let the truth destroy her. The next day, I met up with Hannah at a small diner on the edge of town. She looked worse than I did. Dark circles under her eyes, same hoodie. She sat across from me and wrapped her hands around a chipped ceramic coffee mug like it was the only thing holding her together. "Sleep?" I asked. She shook her head. "You?" I shook mine. We didn't talk about the videos. Didn't mention Vanessa or Ryan by name. We just sat there, two betrayed spouses trying to hold on to something steady while the ground shifted beneath us. "Rachel said it's airtight," Hannah finally said. "He gets 20%. No more." I nodded. "Vanessa's the same. But it only works if they don't see it coming." "Oh, they don't," she said with a bitter smirk. "Ryan tried to kiss me this morning. Said I smelled like spring. Can you believe that?" I raised an eyebrow. "Spring?" I told him it was probably the mildew from the bathroom towels he never bothers to hang up. I laughed, and to my surprise, she did too. And that was something. That evening, I told Vanessa I had an overtime shift at the fire station. She told me not to overwork myself. I watched her pack her gym bag, kiss our daughter on the forehead, and smile at me like everything was perfectly normal. She thought she was winning. Hannah and I had a shared folder now. We kept copies of all emails, videos, any surveillance footage we could gather. She had the same camera set up on her end that I did, one facing the driveway, one inside the garage, one over the back patio. It was incredible how careless they'd become. Vanessa parked her car a block away and walked to the apartment most nights. Ryan used a company car, thinking it wouldn't be traced back to him. They weren't just reckless. They were stupid, and that gave us room to be smart. I opened a new bank account under my name only. Transferred just enough from the joint account that it wouldn't raise suspicion. Then I quietly canceled her secondary credit card, told her it must have been flagged for fraud. She nodded and said, "Probably from that gas station near the airport." Right. I filed the notice to freeze our home equity line, called my insurance company, and removed her as the primary on everything but the auto plan. Did it all quietly, legally. By the time she'd find out, it'd be too late to reverse any of it. We set the date with Rachel. Thursday, noon. Both sets of papers would be served simultaneously, to Vanessa at the Crescent Harbor office, and to Ryan while he was leading a team meeting across town. They'd get the papers. They'd realize they'd been found out, and they'd have the entire weekend to sit in the mess they'd made. Rachel called it emotional containment. Make them squirm before they could even make a move. The night before we served the papers, I stood at the edge of our daughter's doorway, just watching her sleep. 10 years old. Still clutched a stuffed bear she'd had since preschool. Still kicked the covers off halfway through the night. I thought about how this would hit her, what it would mean, and how careful I had to be with the truth. Vanessa might have cheated on me, but she'd also cheated her out of a stable home. That was something I couldn't forget, and I sure as hell wasn't going to let her twist it into my fault. Before bed, Vanessa asked if I wanted to watch something together. I told her sure. We watched some Netflix crime show while she laid her head on my shoulder. She didn't notice how still I was, how I didn't react to the twists and turns on the screen. My thoughts weren't there. They were in that office across town, in the envelope sitting on Rachel's desk, waiting to be delivered. I couldn't sleep that night either. Didn't even try. I got up around 3 a.m., made coffee, and went through our home's security footage again. Nothing unusual, just silence, a false sense of calm. That final breath before everything breaks. Thursday, 11:58 a.m. I got a text from Rachel. They've both been served. Stand by for impact. I didn't answer. I just set my phone down and stared out the window, waiting. At 12:31 p.m., Vanessa called me. 3 times in a row. I didn't answer the first 2. The third one I picked up and stayed quiet. Luke, what the hell is this? Her voice wasn't scared. It was angry. Accusatory. You filed for divorce behind my back? You froze our accounts. You took money. What the hell is going on? I said only one thing. I know, Vanessa. Then I hung up. 15 minutes later, Hannah texted me a photo of Ryan, standing outside the office building, pacing, red-faced, phone in one hand, the papers in the other. I saved it. For the scrapbook. That night, Vanessa didn't come home. I packed a suitcase for her, left it by the front door, changed the locks, and for the first time in weeks, I slept. Not because the pain was gone, but because for the first time, I had control. I sat there in silence for what felt like forever, and then, without warning, the front door opened, and in came Hannah, flanked by her 3 kids, Rob, Cindy, and Jason. They stopped cold when they saw me and my daughter sitting there at the counter, heads bowed like we'd just come out of some heavy confessional. Did she tell you? Hannah asked carefully. I didn't answer. I looked at Jason, then at Cindy, then back at my daughter. Rob was the one who finally spoke up. Yeah, we did, since January. I leaned forward, elbows on the counter. Start talking. Jason pulled out his phone and opened a folder labeled simply, Mom. Videos. Dozens of them. Some grainy, some surprisingly high quality. Time-stamped. Dated. Filed. He opened one and hit play. There they were, Vanessa and Ryan. Kissing, laughing, touching each other like no one in the world would ever find out. Except they had. You filmed this? I asked. Not directly, Jason said. We used motion sensor cameras. Cheap ones from Amazon. Hidden behind books, vents, even the baseboard in the hallway of that apartment. What apartment? I asked. They all looked at each other like someone had to break the news. Cindy stepped forward. We found the place on a location-sharing app. At first we thought it was a glitch, but we followed them once, just to see. And well, there it was. Apartment 2B. I rubbed my face, the headache blooming behind my eyes. You've been tracking them? Following them? Jason shrugged. It wasn't hard. The only hard part was deciding what to do with it. And you decided to email me anonymously? My daughter nodded. We figured if we sent you the videos without names, it would be easier. You'd believe it faster. I shook my head slowly, stunned. You shouldn't have had to carry this. But we did, she said quietly. Because you trusted her. And we didn't want to see you get hurt worse. We moved to the living room. I sat on the couch while the kids gathered around like they were about to deliver a group project presentation. Jason took lead. So here's what we did, he said, in a tone far too calm for a 17-year-old. We bought the cameras first. 5 of them, placed around the apartment, synced to a cloud drive. Then we got access to Ryan and Vanessa's phones by installing a background audio recorder. You hacked their phones. We installed a parental control app with audio logging. Technically legal, morally questionable. But again, he paused. We were desperate. How did you get access? My daughter grinned. Mom made me update her phone once. She never changed her password after that. I stared at her. You used her own trust against her. Where do you think I learned that trick? She said, not unkindly. It hit me in the gut. For the next hour, they showed me everything. A recording of Vanessa talking to Ryan about finally being free of Luke. Texts where they joked about gaslighting me if I ever got suspicious. Footage of them opening bottles of wine in the apartment, talking about how clueless Hannah and I were. Bank transfers. Notes. A plan to open a joint savings account in the Cayman Islands. They had receipts. I was stunned silent. This is enough to bury them, I whispered. Jason nodded. That was the idea. Hannah just watched. Quiet, hand over her mouth. When it was all done, when all the footage had been played and the files laid bare, she finally spoke. I thought I was protecting you, she said to her kids. I thought keeping it to myself was the only way. Rob shook his head. We saw how it was destroying you. Both of you. We didn't want to just sit back and let it happen. My daughter added. You always tell us to stand up for what's right. So we did. It should have felt like a win. Instead, It felt like grief. Because we'd all been forced into this corner. None of us wanted to be here. But the betrayal, it had reached so deep into our homes that even the kids had become soldiers in a war they didn't start. I looked at them all and said what I needed to say. I'm proud of you. I hate that you had to do it. But I'm proud of you. And then I added, but next time, please, tell me first. They laughed. We all did. Not because it was funny, but because it was the only thing holding the emotion back from spilling over. Before they left, Jason handed me a flash drive. Everything's on here, he said. I stared at the tiny piece of plastic. Good God, I muttered. You kids are dangerous. We learn from the best, he said with a wink. That night, I sat on the porch again. Same chair, same beer. Only now, I wasn't alone. My daughter came out, blanket around her shoulders, and sat beside me. We didn't speak for a while. Then she whispered, "Are we going to be okay?" I looked up at the stars, took a deep breath. Yeah, I said, it's going to take time. Because we weren't just fighting to end a marriage. We were fighting to rebuild a family. I used to think justice was something that came from the courts, from rules and statutes. But after everything that happened, after the lies and videos, the hidden cameras, the fake smiles at the dinner table. But now, it was time to let it in there too. The morning after the kids revealed everything, I met up with Hannah at Rachel Lively's office. We didn't say much as we walked in. Now we were just ready. Rachel took one look at us and nodded like she already knew the answer. "You've got more evidence?" she asked, always direct. Jason's flash drive sat on the table between us. "Everything," I said. "Bank statements, messages, audio, video, even proof they were planning to hide money offshore." Rachel's eyebrows lifted. "Nice work." She plugged it into her computer. Within seconds, her face changed. Professionalism shifted to something closer to restrained rage. "Oh, they're toast," she muttered. We spent the next 3 hours laying the final groundwork. Rachel filed the motion to freeze any remaining shared accounts. She drafted a letter to Crescent Harbor Insurance detailing potential misuse of corporate housing. She submitted the surveillance footage as formal evidence in the divorce. And finally, she helped us prepare the statement, the public one. Because as much as I wanted to keep everything private, Ryan and Vanessa had taken enough from us. They destroyed our families behind closed doors. It was only fair that the truth got to breathe a little daylight. But it wouldn't be a media circus. Just one email delivered to the people who mattered, our friends and families. That evening, back home, I sat with the kids around the dining room table. Jason, Cindy, Rob, my daughter. "We're going to let people know," I said. "Not everyone, not the whole world, but the people closest to us. They deserve to hear the truth from us, not from rumors." They nodded. "I want you to understand something," I continued. "This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about resolution. We're not going to embarrass them. We're just going to stop protecting them." "Good," Cindy said flatly. "They didn't protect us either." The next day, Rachel scheduled the message. It was a single link to a secure folder. Inside, a 2-paragraph summary of the affair, a few selected screenshots, one audio file, a short video clip, and one line at the bottom that said, "We didn't want to share this, but we had to stop lying for them." It was sent to 12 people. That's all. 12 names. Our parents, a few close friends, 2 of Ryan's co-workers, Vanessa's boss. That was enough. By noon the next day, Vanessa called. I let it go to voicemail. She didn't scream this time. She just said, "I hope you're happy. You've ruined my life." And I laughed, because she still didn't get it. I hadn't ruined anything. She had. I had just stopped covering for her. Hannah called me a few minutes later. "Ryan's sleeping in his car," she said casually. "His dad won't take him in. I think he thought someone would swoop in and save him." "No such luck," I said. "Nope. He called you." "He tried. I blocked him." I paused. "You okay?" She took a breath. "Yeah, I think I am." That weekend, Vanessa came by the house. She didn't knock. She just stood in the driveway, looking up at the front door like it was something she used to own. I walked out slowly. She was dressed nicely, like that would matter. Like maybe the past could be erased with a clean outfit and lip gloss. "I want to see her," she said. "Our daughter's at her grandma's." I lied. She hesitated. "She's not going to forgive me, is she?" I met her eyes. "Not for a long time. Maybe not ever." Vanessa looked down. "I never meant to hurt her. You just didn't care enough not to." She didn't argue. She just nodded, then turned and walked back to her car. She didn't ask for a hug. Didn't ask for another chance. That night, I sat on the porch again. Blanket, beer, silence. Only this time, I didn't feel heavy. By Monday morning, the first real cracks showed up, not in our lives, but in theirs. Vanessa didn't go to work. Neither did Ryan. But I knew someone who did. Rachel called me just after 10 a.m. "They're in trouble," she said, straight to the point. "Your email made it to Crescent Harbor's HR department. I just got off the phone with their legal team. And they're opening an investigation. Misuse of company property, fraudulent travel reimbursements, personal use of corporate housing, and an internal ethics violation." I leaned back in my chair. "Think they'll get fired?" "I think," Rachel said with a smirk in her voice, "they've already cleared out their desks." That afternoon, Hannah called me. She didn't even say hello. "They're out." I didn't need clarification. Both of them. Yup. Ryan didn't even fight it. Just packed a box and walked out. Vanessa tried to argue with HR, but apparently she got the "we're not interested in a conversation" tone pretty fast. I smiled, not because I wanted revenge, but because it finally made sense. Actions had consequences. That was all we ever wanted. My daughter just looked at me and said, "Does this mean it's over?" I took a deep breath. Not yet, but it's beginning to be. They moved in together, eventually. Small apartment on the other side of town. 2 bedrooms, cheap rent, and no yard. Vanessa texted me a picture once. It was supposed to look like a happy couple starting over, but it just looked like 2 people trying too hard to pretend they hadn't burned their bridges. Our court date was set for the following month. In the meantime, Rachel filed motions for temporary custody and interim financial support. Vanessa argued for split custody, claimed I was manipulating the children. I didn't have to argue. The kids told the judge everything themselves. Jason submitted a written statement. Cindy testified in person. Even my 10-year-old stood up and said, "She lied to all of us." The judge didn't need much more. I was granted full custody, visitation every other weekend, supervised until further review. Vanessa cried in court, not out of sorrow, out of shock. She never thought she'd lose. Ryan tried to charm the judge, wore a suit, polished shoes, said all the right things. But when Hannah's lawyers submitted the financial records, showing how much company money he'd funneled into team-building retreats that led nowhere, it was game over. The court didn't just grant Hannah custody. It ordered Ryan to pay temporary spousal support and child support for all 3 kids. By the end of May, both of them were unemployed. Both of them were drowning in legal bills. Vanessa moved to part-time at a shipping warehouse. Ryan started doing door-to-door solar panel sales. Commission only. It was a long, painful way down, and they had no one to blame but each other. Meanwhile, on our side of the fence, something surprising happened. Laughter came back, slowly at first. Joke here, a sarcastic comment there. Then movie nights and cookouts. Backyard fires with marshmallows and the kids teasing each other again. The silence had been replaced by noise, good noise, life noise. One night, Hannah and I sat outside, kids all inside watching some Disney reboot, and I looked over at her and said, "We're okay." She nodded. "Yeah, we are." I didn't think we'd be. Me neither. "You ever think we'd end up like this?" She chuckled. "Divorced? Single parents? Backyard philosophers?" "No, I mean." She turned to look at me. "Every damn day. I still see Vanessa, now and then. She doesn't make eye contact. Jason asked me once if I regretted any of it. I told him the truth. I regret that it happened." One quiet Sunday afternoon, the house was calm and I was on the porch. Sun setting, cold lemonade in my hand. My daughter came out and sat beside me. No tablet, no stuffed bear, no hoodie pulled over her head. More grown than I remembered. She looked at me and said, "Can I tell you something? Without you getting mad." That phrase, it hits different after the year we'd had. I braced myself. Always. She took a breath. Jason didn't just record them. He found something else. I sat up a little. She continued. They had a folder. On a shared cloud account. Ryan and Mom. Stuff they were planning. About the money. What kind of stuff? She pulled her phone from her pocket. Transfers. A new account in Nevada. A fake LLC. I stared at the screen. She tapped, showed me a screenshot, email threads, a spreadsheet, a photo of a deposit slip. They were trying to move money, she said. Away from the family. From you. From Aunt Hannah. From us. I was stunned. Why didn't you show me this earlier? She looked down. We did in a way. We gave Rachel the drive. But this part? We weren't sure if it was real. We thought maybe it would scare you. I put my arm around her, gently. You don't have to protect me from the truth anymore. I'm not as breakable as I was. I know, she said quietly. But I was. That hit harder than anything else that year. Because all this time I thought I was shielding her from the worst of it. But really, she'd been shielding herself. And doing it with more grace than I ever managed. Later that night, all the kids were in the living room. Cindy on the floor, legs crossed, doodling in a notebook. Rob and Jason half watching a show, half scrolling their phones. I turned off the TV and said, "We need to talk." They looked up. "You've all carried more than you should have. And I'm sorry for that." Jason nodded, slow. "We knew the risks." "I know, but I don't want you to think this is how families are supposed to be. How love is supposed to work. What your mother and Ryan did." I paused. "That's not the world I want you to expect." Cindy looked up. "We don't." Over the next few weeks, we started therapy. Individual sessions, family sessions. Even Hannah joined in a few times. It wasn't easy, there were tears, but we needed it. At one point, the therapist asked my daughter, "What would make you feel safe again?" And she said, "Knowing he's not going anywhere." She meant me. I didn't cry in the room, but I did in the truck afterward. Cindy told her therapist that she still dreams about the night they followed Ryan and Vanessa to the apartment. She said it felt like watching a movie that shouldn't exist. Jason said he started sleeping better only after I told him I was proud of him, not angry. And Rob, he barely talked for 3 sessions. Then one day, he just looked up and said, "I still miss my dad, but I don't respect him anymore." That one cut the deepest. Because even when the pain fades, the absence doesn't. We kept showing up, though, week after week. And slowly, the cracks started to seal. Laughter came easier. At night, I found my daughter sitting at the kitchen table, writing something in her notebook. She closed it quickly when I walked in. I raised an eyebrow. "Secret mission?" She smiled shyly. "Sort of." I poured myself a glass of water, leaned on the counter. "You know you can tell me anything, right?" She nodded. "I know. This one's just mine for now." I didn't press because I trusted her. Not as a child, but as the bravest soul I knew. It had been months since the court ruling, since the jobs were lost. Vanessa looked tired. Makeup couldn't hide the stress. Her eyes were hollow, lips cracked, jacket too big on her frame. Ryan stood beside her like a man who didn't know if he should speak or stay quiet. Either way, it didn't matter. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. Vanessa tried to smile. "Hi." I didn't answer. "We just wanted a chance to talk. Just talk." I leaned against the doorframe. "So talk." She glanced at Ryan, who stepped forward, hands open, like a peace offering. "Look, man," he started, voice thin. "We messed up. We know that. We said things, did things, but everything just got out of hand. We didn't mean to hurt you." I raised a hand. "No," I said calmly. "You meant exactly what you did. You just didn't think you'd have to live with it." Vanessa flinched. Ryan looked down at the porch floor. Vanessa stepped forward. "I know I destroyed a lot, but we were friends, Luke. Family. And I still believe, maybe stupidly, that something can be repaired." I almost laughed. "Repaired?" She nodded, slowly. "Maybe not the marriage, but the connection. For the sake of the kids. Maybe even forgiveness." That word hung in the air like spoiled fruit. Forgiveness. I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt nothing. "I think you're confusing regret with accountability," I said. "You're sorry for how it turned out, not for what you did." Ryan's voice cracked. "We lost everything." "You didn't lose it," I said coldly. "You threw it away." Behind me, the front door opened slowly. My daughter stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching everything with quiet eyes. She didn't say a word. Vanessa noticed her and instinctively stepped forward. "Sweetheart." My daughter shook her head. "Don't." Just that. One word. And it shattered whatever illusion Vanessa had left about being welcome here. I turned back to them. "You both want something fixed. But we already fixed it by cutting you out." Ryan tried one last time. "We're still family, man. We made mistakes. But you're nothing to me," I said, calm. Vanessa's mouth trembled. "Luke, please." I opened the door. "I've got nothing left for you." And with that, I closed it. Later that night, we sat around the table, all of us, me, Hannah, and kids. Just taco, music, new board game. Nobody knew the rules to ND laughter, the kind that fills a room in waves, like music. Cindy accidentally knocked over a glass, and everyone screamed like it was an explosion. Rob teased her. Jason tried to mop it up with a sock. My daughter leaned into my shoulder and said, "She tried, didn't she?" I nodded. They both did. Did it work? I looked at her, then around the room. No, I said. It didn't. Because there's nothing to fix when the fire has already cleared the field. After that last encounter with Vanessa and Ryan, something in the house shifted. They did what they did. We lived through it. And now, they were nothing but chapters we had already finished reading. Jason and Rob practically lived at our place now. Cindy taught my daughter how to braid hair in a dozen different styles. Jason showed me how to reset our Wi-Fi more efficiently than the tech guy I'd paid before. Even Rob started talking more, asking me things about work, school, and how to fix stuff around the house. Our two families, once broken, had fused into something new. One night, Hannah and I sat on her back porch, watching the kids through the sliding door as they tried to build a pillow fort. "You think we'll ever stop feeling like we're in recovery?" she asked. I smiled. "I think we already did. We just didn't notice." She sipped her tea. "We should be broken, you know." "Yeah," I said. "But we're not." "Why?" I shrugged. "Because they didn't destroy us. They freed us." We celebrated the holidays together that year. A lot of food, laughter, and warmth. At one point, the power went out. Everyone screamed. Cindy lit too many candles and nearly burned the house. Jason improvised a Christmas song on guitar. My daughter curled up beside me with a blanket and whispered, "This is the best one we've had." And she was right. Sometimes, getting through the pain just takes someone willing to listen. Cherish those who stayed, and never be afraid to start again.